Dr. Mark Changizi here with your science moment. Today I'm going to talk about sex, gender, and things like this, and some misconceptions on both the left and right, and both sides seem to have a cartoonish version, as best as I can tell, of the issue. And if I had to describe it, it looks as if, or at least to make it more stark than it necessarily is, but I think it helps. The left seems to have the view, look, sex is complicated. There's just tremendous numbers of biological details, and there's tremendous number of arrows and hormones and all of these different complex developmental processes it's just so it's incredibly complex, and so it can't be binary. It can't just be that there's a distinction of male, female sex distinction, because it's complicated. Now, even Sean Carroll, physicist, pointed this out, and of course he's a man for years who has been a very loud speaker on the left. So you can see the angle that he's coming from, and I think these sorts of positions are often driven by whether you're left or right, and not based on logic per se. And the right is equally, I think, wrong about this. They had this with the new Supreme Court justice. They asked her, so what's the definition of a woman? And people are like, oh, that's such a stupid thing that she punted on the answer and she didn't know the answer. But we don't know. All of us often can't answer this. If you ask me what the definition of a cup or a chair or just any natural language, a pillow, what is the definition of a pillow such that that definition picks out all and only pillows? You won't be able to do it for any of these things. So what makes you think that you can write a sufficiently complex, rich definition for male or for female that picks out all and only males, for example? You can't. It's incredibly complicated. So you have this, on the right, you end up with this view that, well, it's so simple and these things are binary, and it somehow has to come with the fact that it's because these notions are inherently simple. They're not. And so the right answer, just to cut to the chase, is that everyday, regular predicates, we say predicates or properties or concepts in the natural world, in terms of the language that we have that carves things at the joints that we carve them, are always complicated. But that doesn't mean that there's not, in fact, the distinctions that we're talking about. So there really are bald heads, and there are really not bald heads, and there are really pillows and things that are not pillows, and chairs and stools, and every concept that we have is both complex, incredibly complex, and we can't, in fact, write nice definitions that pick them out perfectly, and they're still binary. They're not binary in the sense of just it's a pillow, it's pillow, and then boom, it's not a pillow. That's not what binary means. We have almost nothing like that except in mathematics. Only in math can you end up with things that are truly binary in the very formal mathematical sense. But that's ridiculous to say that nothing else in the world is one thing or the other. And of course there can be fuzzy cases occasionally in between, but that doesn't take away the distinction. That doesn't mean we can't say there's a real biological male-female distinction. So both of these positions on the left and the right are cartoons. It can be both complex and it can be binary. Not in the mathematical sense, but in the sense that there's a clear distinction between the two things. And we don't have to believe there's 400 different things in between for each gradation in between. No, there's just two things. And occasionally, you find occasional counterexamples to that, but that doesn't vitiate the distinction. If it did, then we wouldn't be able to talk about literally every non-mathematical thing that we talk about. If you're interested in this kind of thing, you can read about it in my earlier book, The Brain from 25,000 Feet. Chapter 4 or 3, I believe, is about why it is that language is inherently of this kind. It's too long of an argument to go in here. Maybe I'll do another science moment about it. And that was your science moment.